Good evening. Welcome to Focus on Education. My guest tonight is Amber Roberts from Oak Ridge High School. She's Vice Principal. And we're going to be discussing the topic of tomorrow night's Town Hall meeting at Oak Ridge High School. Amber, can you tell us a little bit about what the reason for the meeting is and what to expect at the meeting?
Sure. First, thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this opportunity to talk about our meeting. I'm hoping we get some participation from our community. There's been some talk around, we've been getting feedback for several years now about our current schedule from students, parents, teachers. Some concern that the model we have might not be meeting the needs of our students as best that it could. So we're really looking just to have a conversation to talk about some of the problems that have already been identified with our current schedule, and then get some ideas, just get some creativity going around what are some alternatives that are out there to the one we already have.
Well, and to be a little more clear, it's been not very many years ago that the high school switched to an 8-period day. The reason behind that was twofold. One is with all of the state requirements, we have a lot of schedule compression so that students are not able to take as many different things as they would like to. I mean, my own kids were not able to take nearly the electives that I took in high school to explore what might they want to do, what might they be good at, just kind of dabble a little here and there. And high school is really the best time for that, but we didn't have room for that in the schedule, so that's why we moved to an 8-period day. But the other reason is that the state's implementation of RTI-2 is you have to designate intervention time within the school day for students who are struggling. And the 8-period day allowed for that, but it means that the class periods are really too short. I've heard from science teachers that have labs, they simply cannot complete in that number of minutes. I mean, they just can't. So the problem is real and we need to do something different. I've had several people contact me sort of panicked that this is about block scheduling, that we're going to go to semesters where you finish one class in a semester and then you go to a different class. And the problem with that, as many people know, because so many other schools do that, is that the classes that build one on another, the ones that have occur to me right off is math, foreign languages, and that sort of thing, but there's a lot of them. Courses that build one upon another, if you take a semester off, you forget half of what you learned in the previous course. So that's an issue, but this meeting is not about switching to block scheduling.
No.
As I understand it, what it is a solicitation for ideas.
Correct. So this is Oak Ridge. We live in the most innovative community in the state, and we have brilliant minds in our community, and so we're really looking to solicit those great minds for a truly innovative solution to the needs of our students. And the only way we can do that is if we really open up a conversation, identify the current problem, and then identify pitfalls and problems with other solutions that other schools have already tried, and then come up with something truly unique that meets the needs of our community.
So the meeting tomorrow night begins what time?
6 p.m.
In the auditorium here
Correct.
at Oak Ridge High School.
Yes, in the auditorium at Oak Ridge High School.
Who is invited to attend?
Anyone in the community, parents, students, citizens of the city, anyone who has an interest in our high school and in the education system that we provide here through Oak Ridge Schools.
So it's not limited at all. It's anybody in the city with an interest, or even tuition students' parents would be able to come.
Certainly.
What should people expect? What is kind of the layout of this meeting?
So we'll start, we didn't want to waste anyone's time by getting up and having people rehash things we already know. So we already have a list of feedback from community members, faculty members, students about problems with our current schedule. So we don't want to spend time hashing that out. I'll present some things that we have already learned, some feedback we've already received, and then we'll open the floor up for an open mic time from the community. We'll have about 15 minutes of that with a 2-minute limit per person that can come to the mic and speak. And then once that is over, people don't necessarily love to get up in front of a crowd and speak. So we'll have, it's going to be interactive, so people are welcome to bring their devices. I'll have a way for them to give feedback electronically, and for those who don't have devices, there'll be a way for them to give feedback in writing on Post-it notes around the auditorium to give some feedback about problems or experiences they have with our current schedule. And then we'll shift into the same format for opening it up to ideas, solutions, things they've heard about things that work in other schools. And we'll have open mic time again, and then again a time for electronic or analog comments.
And I think that second part's really important. What you're hoping to get out of this meeting is ideas. What are possible solutions? Because, as you say, we've got some really smart people in this community. They may have thought of something that you haven't thought of, and I haven't thought of, and nobody else has thought of. Now, we all realize that there are some state rules that come into play that make it more difficult, but you'll cover that at the meeting so that we kind of know what the parameters are. That you have to have a certain number of minutes for this and that and the other thing. But that's really what I want people to know, is that this is a time where they can bring ideas. It's brainstorming for solutions. And there are no preconceived things that we're going to try to make fit in this box, because quite honestly, I don't think any of us know what the solution is yet. We need to talk about different ideas, and you've done a lot of research with what other school systems do in the area, in the state. I do know that there are a fair number of schools on block scheduling, but there are also a significant number that have done hybrids, or that do, what is it, Dobbins-Bennett has 4 completely different schedules.
Yes.
So some are on block, some are on a modified block, some are on a different modified block, and some are on a regular schedule. And they do all this in one high school.
Correct.
And I haven't yet figured out how they accomplish that, but the solution needs to be an Oak Ridge solution.
That's right.
And one of the things that we need to be careful of is to make sure that we meet the needs of all students, but that we don't negatively impact one group to help another. And that might end up being a hybrid of 2 different schedules.
Correct. I think you mentioned it earlier. There are some courses that really lend themselves to a block, a longer class period, classes like lab courses. A lot of our CTE academies, by the time the kids get in and get changed and start their work, it's time to change back into their regular clothes again. And so some courses like that would benefit from a longer period, while other classes, like you mentioned, that are more skill-based, that the skill needs to be practiced over and over for a long period of time. We don't want to get into a situation where we have a slide in skills or skill gaps from a lack of continuity that probably need to meet every day on a smaller period of time. So just as diverse as our student body, we probably need to look at a schedule that is diverse and meets the needs of everybody.
Well, and to be more specific, particularly for those parents who may not be as familiar with our current course offerings, we now offer welding. We offer automotive technology. Those are things where students, as you say, need to change clothes. They need to put on specific safety gear. That just getting ready to do the work takes some amount of time. So in a short class period, you really can't do much work.
Right.
It's difficult. Labs may take a longer period. You can't rush chemistry. Okay, it happens when it happens.
Right.
You can't make it go any faster or something bad happens. Math, on the other hand, this is something that my daughter student taught at a school where they had block scheduling, and one of the things she struggled with is a student would take algebra and then not take any math for 6 months and then go into geometry. They forgot half the algebra. You really need to build on that stuff and take it continuously. And I realize that colleges do semester classes. I mean, we all know that. We all went. And The difference is when you're in college, everybody doesn't take the same things. You choose a major and you're primarily taking courses in your major continuously. And yeah, you might take a semester of history or a semester of whatever requirement is there, but it's not the stuff that builds on each other. It's, if you have things that build, you take 2 in a row and then you're done and that sort of thing. So we're under a little different constraint in figuring out how do we make this all fit together and work for all of our students.
Correct.
Not just those that are struggling, not just those that are taking every AP course we offer, but everybody.
So that will definitely be the task of our schedule review team. So we'll have a team comprised of staff members, counselors, administrators, parents from the community that will look at all of those variables. And they're actually going to run 2 different design teams to map out looking at all those variables to get creative and design something completely unique, taking all that into account. It's absolutely, it cannot be just one way or the other because we have so many different various courses and nuances to our curriculum that it's going to have to be some sort of combination, something completely unique for us to explore.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and then I want to go back into more of the what goes on after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay? Welcome back to Focus on Education. My guest tonight is Miss Amber Roberts, Vice Principal at Oak Ridge High School, and we're talking about tomorrow night's town hall meeting that is about scheduling. And in the first half hour, we talked about kind of what the problems are and what some of what we're hoping for in terms of soliciting solutions from the community. What are the steps forward after tomorrow night's meeting, after people have given their input as to what the issues are, what their ideas for solutions are? What happens next?
Well, the next step is that we will run a schedule review team. It's going to be set up as a design team comprised of 2 smaller teams that will be working off of a premise actually started at Google. The Google Design Sprint is the idea that 2 teams very quickly analyze a problem, analyze solutions to that problem, and then design something on the fly, run it through some tests, kind of prototype it, see how it looks. We're actually going to use real live student schedules, real scenarios of students. We have about 20 that we've selected, a good sampling of student schedules where we can run a mock. So say the student comes in as a freshman and if they were on this schedule, how would that change the outcome for that student in terms of their opportunity for credit recovery, their opportunity to explore more electives, their opportunity to explore more advanced placement courses, and especially what we're really focused on in Oak Ridge with access to early post-secondary opportunities for our students. So we'll be using those model schedules as kind of the test for our schedule prototypes. So the team will run 2 designs and then they'll get together and compare their designs and maybe come up with one that is a hybrid of both.
So how will the design teams be selected?
The design teams, we selected one person from each department in the school to be a faculty member representative. We also have 2 counselors, 2 administrators, and 2 parents from the community who will participate on the committee. And like I said, there'll be 2 teams running. So each team will have a counselor, an administrator, and a parent, and then 6 other people who will be staff members.
Okay, so the teams have already been selected?
Yes.
Okay.
Faculty volunteers, departments who had more than 1 volunteer, we put it out to a vote and the staff voted on who they wanted to represent their departments.
Okay. If people from the community who are not able to attend tomorrow night have additional suggestions they want to make, who do they send those to? How did they know who's on the committee to give them ideas? I
would recommend just sending it straight to me through my email address. It's available on the website, but it is ahroberts@ortn.edu. I'm not going to be on the design teams. I'll be the facilitator of the process. So I will be funneling all the information that we receive to the design teams, kind of organizing it for them in a way that makes it more manageable to digest, So any comments that get sent to me, I will then put with the comments from the community town hall.
Okay, so, and the comments from the town hall are going to go in electronically as well as on paper, and then I guess you'll combine those so that they've got the whole basket of
Yes.
suggestions. Are there any other ways that people will be able to see the progress of the committees, and how does the committee, you have two committees, how do they work? They're looking at problems and solutions simultaneously. How do you merge those two?
So it's the Google Design Sprint is set up so that they spend time analyzing the problem, designing a prototype, and actually each individual on the two separate teams will come up with their own design prototype, and then those two individual teams will vote on their team's choice to actually flesh out as the team's prototype. And then the two teams will then come together again, kind of the final step, to present their chosen model, and then they will deliberate over the pros and cons of each to come up with one final solution. We hope. We'll see how it goes. It's our first foray into this, so that's the plan so far.
What kinds of tools are you using to make this work?
So a really neat presentation that we had as part of our professional development here in Oak Ridge Schools when school first started was a presentation on Scrum, Agile, using Canaan boards where there's a backlog of problems. And so we'll have our list of problems in the backlog, and then we'll pull them out a few at a time to put into this model and run that model. And then as we solve problems, we'll pull in another problem and try to solve that problem with the construct we've already created. So that's the plan so far.
But I'm fishing here, though.
Okay.
The Scrum is already in use in Oak Ridge High School.
That is true.
With our robotics team.
Correct.
And it was brought to the robotics team from Oak Ridge National Lab.
Correct.
So we're using actually a tool that has been used for some pretty high-tech problems and high-level. You get this basket of problems and we need to develop this basket of solutions kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that is incorporating something that this team has been using for several years now with very good effect.
Correct.
So it'll be interesting to see how this goes.
Mm-hmm. It was interesting. So, and I went to the presentation that was put on by a representative from the National Lab who came and talked to our group. And then Dr. Buckner, who works with our robotics team, kind of schooled me a little bit more on the process. And he is kind of our consultant through this process. He's going to give some pointers to the team when we first get started on the process, how to keep it running smoothly so that we keep some fidelity in the process.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Buckner was recognized nationally last year for his use of Scrum and implementation of it. So I think that's a very powerful way to get this going and to keep the progress happening. How can the community stay apprised of where you are in the process?
Well, I haven't gotten that far, I'll tell you the truth. We haven't decided what we're going to use to communicate and to collaborate. There's some different software available we could use. And then I guess the team could decide how we would communicate that out to the community and at what intervals. It just will really kind of depend on our design cycle. But I plan to share the community town hall results on our website. Once we finish our town hall, the program I'm going to use, the software is called Nearpod. And it captures a report of the session, and it actually creates a PDF we can put right on our website, so people who weren't there can see the results and see all the feedback we got from that session. So that's one way we'll communicate that. And then as we go through the process, maybe we'll throw up a couple of our prototypes that we have going through our design team.
Because when people are able to see what was discussed at the town hall, if they're not able to make it, it may be that their possible solutions were already mentioned, or that looking at the things that are mentioned might spark a different idea that wasn't even brought up. And that's why I think it's important that people know how to communicate their ideas after the fact, because there probably will be some. I know that I'm prone to thinking of something 30 minutes too late. You know,
Right.
after I've already sat and listened to everybody else's ideas, something will kind of bubble up when I'm on my way home. And because the committee will not have begun solving it at that point,
Right.
it's important for people to have a way to communicate whatever they might think of.
Right.
You know, because it is important that we find a better way. And the constraints are significant. They really are. We have some students who need a lot of intervention. We have some students who don't need anything but somebody to get out of the way.
That's true.
As I'd mentioned to you before, one of the things that I've wondered about for years is, why don't we have a method for students to CLEP out of some things? Like if they've already gotten all the wellness A information from their parents or from reading the textbook, why can't they just take a test and be done with it and use that semester for something else? I don't know whether that's something that high schools are allowed to do. I know that colleges have done it forever, but is there a way? Or, as one of my kids did, take economics online so that she had room to stay in orchestra. And those are some of the kinds of problems that our students face, is they want to continue with specific things, but there's not enough room in the schedule to get in all of the state requirements and still do all of the things they want to do. And it's very important that we find a way, whatever that way may be, we find a way to let every student get what they need and what they want.
That's our goal.
You got
Success for every
any
student.
You got any closing remarks?
I hope that people can come and join us tomorrow evening. Come prepared for an evening to share creative ideas and to really work together as a community in a positive way to impact education for our students.
And I think this is a fabulous idea, so thank you very much for setting it up the way you have, because we have a lot of very smart people here that can bring creative, innovative solutions that are unique to us.
Exactly.